Alright guys, this is going to be another one of my fun videos where I just kind of ramble on, but this is the first video that I'm going to talk about Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. I think some people know about Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, but it's funny, people in World of Warcraft haven't really, lots of people I talk to, lots of people in my guild, they haven't even heard of it, which is surprising to me, but a lot of people who play World of Warcraft aren't the same people like me who's really into massively, multiplayer MMORPG games. So I wanted to talk about Pantheon a little bit because I do plan on probably playing this game a lot when it comes out because it looks really cool. And I'm just, I know this is probably not the best way to do a video, but I'm just going to kind of cover a few things. What is Pantheon Rise Fallen? I think one of the interesting things is it takes place in a world called Terminus. It's a high fantasy world, but it's traditional fantasy with the races that you normally would expect. But here, if we read through some, this has been formed of shipwrecked fragments of many different realms and worlds, bringing unique civilizations, celestial deities with them. So there's this kind of background story. But if we look at the difference, I think this is, and you guys should really go to this website, pantheonmmo.com, and you should read through this because, and I'm not going to read all of this, but this is the part that's really good. If you read this, I think you'll be pretty intrigued. If you want to play a game, an MMO, that's a little bit more difficult, that is based on team co-op play, this is the one. And if you've heard of EverQuest or if ever played EverQuest, you know that it was a more difficult, grindy kind of game. Well, one of the guys who worked on Pantheon, the original, worked on EverQuest, is working on Pantheon. He's one of the original creators of EverQuest, and so he's trying to keep that same kind of idea that it's a little bit more of a social game, more difficult. So if you look at an MMO Evolved, it will be fundamentally different compared to what you might have experienced playing other modern MMORPGs. It's more social, has an emphasis on co-op play. The monsters are often tougher, and the exploration is more involved. You'll need friends in the game, and your objectives can either help you progress or hinder it. Death in the game is meaningful because you're going to drop your items. So when you die, you drop your gear. People can come pick it up. You're going to have to do the whole corpse run, running back to your corpse to pick up your stuff. Spend a meaningful time each area, not just running through as quick as possible, but to collect 10 hides. I'm not sure what that means. You'll need strategy cutting endurance to uncover all the Pantheon has. You find yourself in group in guild chats, has you strategize even just past the time between battles. So it's they have what they call the quadrinity, not the trinity, which you're used to in most MMOs, which you have the tank, the DPS, you have the healer. They have the quadrinity, which is the tank, DPS, the healer, but they also have the CC. So, and the groups aren't going to be like most MMOs are 5-man groups. I think in Pantheon they're looking at doing 6-man groups to allow you to fit in those 4 people and then bring in 2 other classes, whatever, 2 other people to fill out the last 2 spots. So that's also I think kind of interesting. It engages the world. I think this is cool. They're trying to make it so that there's an atmosphere and a climate system. I think this is really interesting. I think it's something I've always wanted in an MMO, and I've always talked about it in the game MMO I wanted to create. But no one's really pushed this out in a way that was really that good. I mean, Black Desert did a great job when it rained, how the ground got wet and pools of water would puddle up and you could walk through it, and like how your clothes would get wet and your hair would get wet and even your face would get wet. And if you were like in combat, if you went out and fought mobs, you would start to sweat, and you could see the sweat on your face. Your face would start to glisten. It wasn't super realistic, but the idea was there. That your gear would start to get worn out or look damaged after getting through a lot of fights. And I think they're trying to bring some of those same things in, as well as this. This is a little bit even different. That the climate system is you have to contend with the world itself. So some regions will be very hot or cold. Some zones are going to be it could do damage to you because it is so cold, or there's going to be poison, miasma, tornadoes could travel through a region, compelling players to work their way around them, not through them. Because if they do, they take significant damage. So I think these are really interesting. Also, certain spells may work better or worse, depending on the climate or the atmosphere. Call of Lightning spell could deal more damage than a typical lightning bolt spell, but can only be cast if there is a storm in the region. So a lot of these concepts have been done before to some degree, but I think they're trying to take it to a more logical next step. There's been games where if you throw a firewall up and someone shoots arrows through the firewall, the arrows catch on fire and do additional damage, something like that. Power spells, abilities, living codex, MMOs in common to find rare items out in the world by mentioning your crafting abilities and spells are more often learned from friends. This is something I mentioned in an MMO. It's amazing how many ideas I came up with that they didn't steal because it's not like they talked to me, but they came with ideas that are very similar to what I was thinking of. I hate it that, like in a World of Warcraft or any of these MMOs, that when you advance to like level 2 or level 5, all of a sudden you just know new stuff. That doesn't make any sense. It's not like you did anything to learn Mark of the Wild, or you didn't anything to learn a Fireball spell. I mean, to learn something like that, you should have to do something. To me, if I was making an MMO, you would have to do something. Maybe you would have to find some sort of a scroll that you would have to, that had this magical power imbued in the scroll. When you read it, you read the language, those runes and stuff floated up in the air and imbued you with power that enabled you to learn this new ability. Something more than just, oh, I'm level 3, so now I can go learn this from some trainer. There should be more to it than that, and I think this is kind of what this paragraph is really talking about. In Pantheon, however, many more rare and exotic spells and abilities are found not at the local trainer, but from a wise sage hiding in the depths of a dungeon or at the top of a remote tower. Dynamic NPC encounter groups, world's not static and unchanging. Every day is not a Groundhog Day. Events occur that can completely change the population. So it's a living, breathing world that it change. After you kill some key mobs guarding a hill giant camp, this triggers a zone event that loads up an invading force of storm giants who then proceed to attack. So there's some event-based stuff that are triggered based on a certain path. If this happens, then this could happen, and if that is taken care of by a group of adventurers, then this could trigger something else. So it's that cause and effect type thing. So this is nothing new. We've seen things like this. It just depends on how well they implement it. NPC position behaviors. Again, we've seen this in Black Desert and trading system. If you trade a lot of stuff with certain people and you talk to them and try to barter with them, you can gain better rep. There's lots of different ways to get different disposition behaviors from those NPCs based on how you interact with them. So let's see what they say here. A lot of the stuff I haven't even read. I mean, I've read, but I've forgotten. So, I haven't really prepped this video that well, but that's fine. I just wanted to get this out there to show you guys that this is the game that I really want to play. And this is a game that I'm most excited about, and I think I'll be doing a lot of content for this. So, what if certain mates had different dispositions that had to be discovered by the player? Many NPCs will have advanced behaviors like the propensity to flee if possible, or to stand and fight. So this is just, these are what I like to call AI tags. It's like something you built into the code of the game that this character has certain, traits that only stand out based on certain triggers. So obviously the trigger here is the propensity to flee. So even if you played like the beginning of Skyrim, and when a dragon flies over, certain people are going to run, but certain people are going to stand and fight. So that's just a trigger based on an event. So these are behavior trees. Some PvPs will incline to help other NPCs in the area, while some will not. Some will target certain classes within the group that's attacking them. So this is all good stuff. It's just, it'll make the players have to learn how to interact with NPCs in certain ways. So it's interesting. I'll sorry to get into a lot of detail. Some of the different dispositions we're working on include Alarmist, the Bully, the Craven, the Opportunist, the Protector, and the Strategist. So this is just building up more advanced AI. So this is great stuff here, actually. Colored mana system. Different classes will use different colors of mana. Some rare ability spells and players will use more than one color. That's interesting. This I haven't even read, but I don't remember this. These exotic abilities create an opportunity to subclass your character, allowing players to customize their class to agree without removing the interdependence between classes. So this is cool. This is interesting. It's going to make more dynamic between the different types of spells that are being cast, and maybe there's some certain colors that work better with other colors. Maybe there's some better synergizing between these types of spells. So, yellow and green make what? I don't know. So this is interesting. I'm not sure how this is going to work out. That's interesting. And this is the progeny system. Chronicles of Lyria also has something kind of similar to this. Players will be able to retire high-level characters and then create their children as new characters. This is, Chronicles of Lyria really talks about this quite a bit. Yeah, they'll have certain abilities, stats, etc. that make them slightly yet noticeably better than a completely brand new character. But that's the point that it unbalances things. So this is just, kind of interesting. Situational gear, I don't think that I really need to read this. The perception system is, I think this really comes right out of Dungeons & Dragons. If you ever watched... what's that guy's name? Matt Mercer. Matt Mercer is a dungeon master for this one channel, Critical Hit Gaming, where he does like a Dungeons & Dragons kind of, plays Dungeons & Dragons. There's one where he does one with Vin Diesel, and he'll ask them, check your perception rolls. So he's describing the scene. He says you come up to a door, like a wizard tower, and there's a door, and maybe Vin Diesel says, I want to roll a perception roll to see if I can find anything else out about this door or this tower. So that's kind of like giving you the opportunity to really look at something and try to see if you can figure out more information. So if you read through this, you'll see they're talking about not because, blinking light tells them to go there. Wizards will perceive things that a warrior cannot. Through prayer, clerics may gain insight into an area. So these really probably came out of Dungeons & Dragons perception. but maybe slightly different. So this is a cool system, but I think how they implement this, it could really be good or bad. If it's bad, it could really slow things down, where people are always trying to use the perception system all the time, and it might start to annoy people. But I guess it just depends on how this is implemented. Non-instance housing, building outposts, player-run dungeon reasons. I don't really care about player-run dungeon reasons too much. Non-instanced housing is pretty cool. Building outposts is pretty cool. Let's take a look at some other things. Game features. Enjoy lore-rich, deeply complex, immerse yourself, colored mana. This is covering some of that stuff. I think really if you just read through this section here on the Pantheon difference, I think it's pretty exciting. If we look at the classes, they have quite a few. This is quite a few classes for an MMO, just starting right out. And I haven't even read all these Dire Lords, capable of mastering the crippling power of fear. It's almost like a warlock. Some are, a lot of these we've all heard of: Enchanter, Rogue, Warrior, Ranger. So these, and then there's the races, which is pretty cool because they actually have a lot of races as well. The Archai, Dwarves. The coloration of this I find very unusual for a dwarf. It's kind of bluish color. A lot of the skins of these pictures are blue-green. I wonder if they're going to look like that in game. The ogres, of course. The humans. This guy looks like a douchebag. The halflings, I think, are intriguing to me. I think halflings are cool. I used to play halfling in Dungeons & Dragons a lot, so this is pretty interesting. And, of course, the elves. I guess you can't have an MMO without elves. The gnomes. Read this one, though. Enigmatic and isolated within the floating keep of Skyhold. The gnomes are masters of the arcane and the peculiar. So these are intriguing. I think these could be interesting. And then the Scar. It sounds like the one from Guild Wars 2. Let's just agree, appetite for cars, the Scar for nothing, and have proven to be their own greatest adversary. So think of these guys as the Klingon, right? And then I think there was, if we look here, challenge. You'll need devout friends. I'm not sure what this video does. It's just kind of going over here. I wanted to show you this. I think there were some screenshots in here somewhere. No, I was hoping more. Learn more. I thought it was somewhere in here they had actually some here screenshots. I think they may have put in the latest news, in-game images, concept art, latest news. This is just concept art. Their artists aren't the best, but they're okay. I mean, it's a pretty small team. I mean, the game is made by Visionary Realms, and I don't think they're very large. Let's check it out. Right? Visionary Realms. There's visionaryrealms.com. This is their main website. Let's take a look at the team of Visionary Realms, guys. Board of Directors, Chris Raven. Brad McQuaid is the one who worked on EverQuest originally. Tim Sullivan, chief, CFO, lead programmer. He's been 16 years. He spanned over 20 titles. Creative director. So that's not a lot of people. I'm sure there's more than just this, but and I think they're still hiring, actually. Anyway, so the Visionary Realms isn't a large company, but they've initially missed out on their goal. They did a Kickstarter and they didn't make enough money. And a lot of times when companies do a Kickstarter, it kind of fails. But they were able to get some other investors to come in and basically kind of save them. But I think, and I pay like $5 a month so that I can have access to the forums, which is kind of crazy. And I don't even use it that much. I just go in there now and then to read up. Do I really think it's worth it to pay $5 a month to have access to forums? Not if you're not going to be actively doing stuff. So that's probably a waste of money. I'm still thinking about, I want to pledge, but unfortunately to get into alpha, you have to do a minimum, the $250 pledge. As you can see here, here's the different types of pledges. Unlimited supporter access. That just means, I think, forum access, basically. Once you get to $100, you have beta access. So once they get to the beta, they'll let you in. And then you have to go all the way up to $250 before you'll get access to the actual alpha. So to be able to, one of the first people to play the game, when it's in its alpha state, you have to pay $250, which is quite a bit. There's been videos out there. A lot of streamers have already had access to the game, and I've already watched a lot of those videos, and it looks okay. You guys can go out there. I think there's Nathan Napalm does a lot of stuff. Even Alex Central's done some stuff. what's the other guy's name? Vrest Gaming. He's done some stuff, and so you guys can find lots of videos on it. But I do think this game is going to be, it's going to be a good game. I think it's probably the only game that's coming out right now that's an MMO that probably I'll be playing. If they do what they say they're going to do, I'm going to be playing this game a long time. I was pretty excited about it, and I thought I just wanted to give you guys a little heads up. This is something I'm probably going to be doing a lot of coverage on in the near future. And I'll still be doing vanilla, but really the vanilla stuff once I get to the point where I'm more involved in Pantheon, where I'm actually playing it in betas and in alphas. I won't be able to put those videos up, but hopefully I'll be able to share some things. Then I probably won't be doing the classic or the vanilla stuff as much. And of course, once Classic WoW comes out, I'll play that, but I really don't have a lot of confidence in Blizzard right now as a company, and I don't really think that Classic WoW is going to turn out to be what a lot of us would hope it would be. So that's all. Just wanted to give a shout out to everybody and kind of talk a little bit about Pantheon, and see if you guys haven't heard about it, you should really check it out. Go to the website, read up on the classes, the lore. There's a lot of stuff on the lore section. Go into here into the story, and there's quite a bit. And look, all these say read more. The history of Terminus. So there's quite a bit of it. There's not like a ton of stuff, but there's quite a bit to read. Age of Chaos, all these different things give you kind of a history of the world, where it's coming from, why these races exist, why they are a little bit the way they are. Anytime you create an MMO, you really need this. You really need this lore to set the background, the backdrop, the background. I haven't even looked at this map. Here's like a map, the Age of Chaos. Oh, and they have. Oh, let's take a look at this. It's funny, every time I look at this, it reminds me of Ashes of Creation. So as you can see, the graphics aren't like awesome. This is like early stuff. This is like really early. This is like one of the first videos that they put up on their site. And you're better off going to their YouTube and just looking at some of the streaming footage they've done of players. They've let people come in and play it. This is 2015. This is like really old stuff. But there are, there is some lore. There's quite a bit of lore that you can go through. Like, let's see the story. So each of these sections has quite a bit of text. I haven't read all this stuff yet, but you guys can check it out and let me know what you think. If you guys are excited about Pantheon, I'm definitely going to be doing more videos once I get actually access to playing the game. And I will catch you guys later. Bye.